Hello everyone, I am Laethas and welcome back to another video, and today I have another manga should you buy video, this time for the short 2-volume series put out by Shoujo Beat from Viz Media by Maki Enjoji, SP baby. Now, about this series, this is one of those few josei titles that has been released in English, so if you want more josei titles to be released in the future, maybe you want to go and support this release specifically. But aside from that, Maki Enjoji is also the author of Happy Marriage, which is another series released by Viz Media, and it's 10 volumes long, also a josei, so these two series are probably similar in some regards, so if you enjoyed that series, you might want to check this one out. As for the release itself, is a standard Shoujo Beat release, nothing special, you know, standard page length, price $10, so very, very cheap, has that older teen rating, you know, nothing too special about the release itself, but, you know, you saw the art a little bit there, it's nothing special, but, it's certainly very good, you know, it's not amazing, but it looks really good, and I think it really fits the series very well, and sort of the aesthetic of what it is. But to sort of get into, like, more of the series itself, this is not very dense. It does not take very long to read this series. It's not super short. It's not like a Tsutomu Nihei work, but it certainly is not going to take you an eternity to read this. So this is a quick get in, get out, sort of fun romance story, because that is really what this series boils down to, is it is about romance, and that is kind of just what it focuses on. It's not really about anything else. It is only 2 volumes long, so I do think that was a good choice, because it really does flesh out the romance very, very well, at least the interaction from the beginning to the end, sort of how we got from point A to point B. Now, one thing to note is that it being a shorter series, the backstories of the characters I do not feel are as fleshed out as they could be, though that could just be due to it being only 2 volumes long. But yeah, if you're wanting some very interesting backstories, some complicated, some complex, meaningful backstories that really show you who the character is and how they got to be the person they were, sort of as the series is progressing right in here, you're not going to get that. But that said, this series doesn't really need that, because the characters' backstories play very little roles into sort of how this story progresses and how it operates, considering that the series really just focuses on our main 2 characters' romance in the now and how that sort of develops. So, while the backstories I do feel are lacking, this series doesn't really suffer a whole lot from that. Like, maybe 1 or 2 times a character motivation feels a little stretched or a little strange, but not to the point of breaking my suspension of disbelief. Just sort of a little, I notice it, but it's not overbearing, if that makes sense. If you're thinking about reading a josei series, or you're used to shoujo, well, I know those are 2 sort of separate points to come in from. If you're used to more shoujo-y stories, this isn't super heavy. So it does say an older teen rating, so it's not a mature series, so I do think if you're used to shoujo and you want to try reading more of a mature series, this is definitely a good place to start, it being short. It's very representative of sort of a more josei romance dealing with adult characters as opposed to high school or middle school characters. So if you like shoujo and you want to try reading something more mature, this is definitely one I would recommend checking out. It's not very smutty at all. It's not like a Midnight Secretary or something like that. It is very tame, sort of in its content. I'm gonna just show a little bit more Volume 1 artwork here, but yeah, if you're also thinking about wanting to get into a romance series, you're not used to romance, you're not a big fan, or you are, thinking you want to sort of branch out your taste, this is also a series I would recommend for you. It really does a good job at showing how a good romance can develop and how you can tell a romance story very well and entertain the reader with just that element. There's not a whole lot more to it, and it really succeeds at that romance aspect. So if you're wanting to check out some romance series, this is one I'd recommend because I think it's very, very representative of what a pure romance story can do and how well it sort of deals with its subject matter, if that makes sense. A lot of series I know, kind of shoehorn in a little bit of romance in there, and it doesn't turn out very well. But this series just focuses on that romance, and it really delivers and executes very well with that sort of topic. If you're not interested in either of those things, either you're not interested in moving from shoujo to josei, or you're not super excited about trying a new sort of style of storytelling, this is still a series that I would recommend you pick up. It has very enjoyable characters that are fleshed out to the extent that they need to be for the story. There isn't a whole lot of thought that needs to go in, like when it comes to like large overarching plot threads. It's not super complicated or complex, so you don't have to think too hard, but that doesn't mean it's not a smart story. It's still it makes sense, and it's well put together. The story beats are there where they need to be. The flow is fantastic, and it's just a very quick and good read. So if you're looking for a short story that's really fun and enjoyable and will make you feel happy at the end, this is one I would highly recommend checking out, especially because it is at that Viz Media $10 price point, which is so cheap for manga these days, since a lot are $13, but these volumes are only $10 a piece. And this series is relatively new, so you can sort of see where manga is going, sort of the direction that licensors are kind of starting to license. And it is a josei, which we're getting more of now, and that's very exciting and interesting to sort of see another demographic being represented in licensed works. But and the spines, as you saw there, I really like these spines. I think the pink and the blue look really nice. But yeah, that will do it for this Should You Buy video. If you've read this series, let me know what you thought of it, that kind of thing. Oh, I should also note, before I end the video, this is not a series that has one of those awful male main characters that's a horrible person. He kind of has more of a playful nature to him, so he's not awful, and he's not awful and super mean to our main female protagonist that sometimes happens in these types of stories. But yeah, that'll be all for this Should You Buy video. If you've read the series, let me know what you thought of it down in the comments down below. Have you read any other Maki Enjoji works, such as Happy Marriage? What are your thoughts on how these two compare? Because I'm excited to get into Happy Marriage. And because of that, I'm very interested to hear what sort of other people think about Happy Marriage and how it sort of compares to this series. But yeah, are there any other series you would like me to do a Should You Buy on that I have in my collection? Recommendations for series you think I should pick up? That kind of thing. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and share. Leave any other, questions, thoughts, concerns, those kinds of things down there in this. I can't speak today. Down there in the comments section. If you'd like to follow me on Twitter, there's a link to that in the description down below. But yeah, that will do it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I am Laethas. Goodbye.